Hi, everybody. This is Angelo Quinones, and you reach Ministries. Ministries is designed to give you dependable and accurate answers that come straight from God's holy and inspired word, the Bible. The Bible, ha Biblios. Now, we've been studying really throughout the prologue of John's Gospel. You have 18 verses there. It is an introduction, to John's Gospel. You know, a lot of themes in this introduction from verses 1 through 18 that are going to be, addressed, in this Gospel. So we have to get familiar with it because there's so much here. The eternal subsistence of the Logos, among other things, such as darkness and light and things like that. So let's read it from the NASB, verses 1 through 3. We're going to be really concentrating on verse 3 and looking at the manuscript evidence because Jehovah's Witnesses, teach that Jesus is a creature. Well, first of all, we can use this verse to indicate and to prove that he's not a creature, that he's actually, the eternal existing Logos. Let's just read this in English and then we'll get to the Greek right away. Quote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Okay? Verse 2. He was in the beginning with God. Verse 3. All things. By the way, it doesn't say all other things. You understand what I'm saying? Even in the New World Translation. Anyway, all things, Greek word panta, all things came into being through him. And apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. Now, let me go through verse 4 because this really has to do with our study as well. Verse 4, in him was life, and the life, was the light of men. So that's just it. Let's read verses 3 and 4 again. Go. All things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. Verse 4. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. End quote. Now, we see that Jesus can't be a creature. Now, of course, he wasn't Jesus at the time. That was not his title. He did not have what I like to say, nature 2 or nature B. He only had nature 1, and it wasn't even nature 1 at the time. That was the only nature that he had. So why even put a number on it? You should only put a number on it. You understand what I'm saying? When he became man, when he took upon himself an additional nature and became man, that automatically by default became nature 2 or nature B. You understand? And nature 1, has to do with his eternal, the nature of his continuous subsistence throughout all eternity and even before eternity, because he is the Father of it. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. So we see in the Greek word ein, and let's get into the Greek very quickly here, we're going to see the manuscript evidence for verses 3 and 4. Hopefully we can do that. Let me see where the Greek is over here, Forget about the parsing for now. I'm going to parse this myself, and then after I get into the manuscript evidence, then we can look at the parsing and look at all that stuff, in its full glory on the app. But for now, enarche ein halagas kai halagas ein prostan thean kai theas ein halagas. Verse 2. Hutas ein enarche prostan thean. Verse 3. This is the deal. Verse 3. Panta di autu egeneta. That's a key. To understand the difference between of the created things, panta, all created things, panta, and the eternal subsistence of logos. But anyway, let's just read verse 3 again without interruption. Panta di autu egeneta, kai kores autu egeneta ude en, or hen, I should say. Ha geganen in verse 4, and it says en auto zoe en. Kai he zoe ein ataphos aton anthropon. Now that's enough for now. we can go on with this glorious introduction. But the difference between, listen, before we hit the problem of verse 3. No, what's the problem of verse 3? Well, the problem of verse 3 is that people like to cut off part of verse 3, the last phrase, and stick it to, stick it in verse 4. Okay, that which was made in him was life. It doesn't say that. Okay, according to the majority of manuscripts, we have to understand that, and the witnesses also have to understand, okay, the evidence. Okay, and I already said in my last study that this punctuation, okay, you can't prove that the apostles used punctuation at all. As a matter of fact, I think the opposite is true. I don't think there wasn't any punctuation, and we don't have the autographer, we don't have the original autographs to try to prove it either way. In order to prove it either way, it's just a lot of guesswork. But according to what about the punctuation evidence, but there isn't any guesswork theologically, Christologically speaking. We know that Jesus was not a creature. Listen, his flesh was made. There's no doubt about that. Verse 3. Okay, that he said he took hold upon a spermatos. That's in the genitive case. Singular. Spermatos. He took hold of that lineage, that seed of David, of Dawid. Okay, spermatos. That's in the genitive case construction there in verse 3 of chapter 1 of Romans. Okay, so he did do that. It's like somebody, paddling in a canoe and going right through a specific current. Okay, according to his will. That's what happened with him, becoming the son of David. Not that he was the son of man in a sense that he had a beginning, okay, in man. That's not the case when it says the son of man. Okay, the son of man is by his own will. Okay, he became the genos, the offspring of David. Him being a root of David initially. Chriza is the Greek word over there in Revelation chapter 22, verse 16. It talks about nature 1 and nature 2 in that verse, okay? That he's the Chriza, the root of David, okay? And then the offspring of David, okay? At the same time, okay? One being before the other. And then you have other verses that indicate nature 1 and nature, and nature 2, or nature A and nature B. Do not say nature A or nature B. Do not say nature 1 or nature 2. You have to say nature A and nature B. They're different natures, okay? They're never to be blended together, these natures. They're never to be blended together. You understand what I mean? So they are to be delineated in a sense that they are different. And the Greek word morphe is found 3 times in the Greek New Testament. If you include, Mark chapter 16, verse 12, and you see that he came in another form, and then Kittos calls that like a form of a traveler, form of a gardener. It's not that he had a different body. He just appeared differently to different people according to his will. Luke chapter 23, verse 16. Okay, these things were hidden away from them, so they wouldn't understand. That phrase is also found in another part of Luke's gospel. As a matter of fact, also it's not only found in verse 16 of chapter 23 of the gospel Kata Lukan. You understand? So these things are to be thought out like that. And it makes it quite impossible for Jesus to be a creature, for Logos, even before he became Jesus. Kai ha Logos sarx agenita, and the word, okay, all right, became flesh. Sarx is flesh, agenitas became. Okay, so even before that, he was just Logos. He was not the God-man. He was not the God-man at all. He was just God. He was with God. And in halagas, kai halagas ein prastante an kai theas in halagas, or in Hebrew, bereshit haya hadabar. Hadabar means the word. Ha means the in Hebrew, and dabar, D-A-B-R, dabar means word. And that, that Hebrew construction, hadabar, is found. You understand what I'm saying? In verse, verse 6 of Psalm 33, I should say. And then the Greek says logos over there, okay, in Psalm 33, verse 6, I believe. You understand what I'm saying? So the Hebrew is Bereshit, that's in beginning, Haya, that's was, okay, it can mean that also. And Hadabar, the word. And the word, Va Hadabar, or Wahadabar, okay, how you pronounce the word and there, And the word, okay, was Haya im with, okay, Ha Elohim, or the God. By the way, it does not have the article in front of Elohim, which is spelled out Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yod, and and final Mem. It does not have a Hey there before that word, okay, which is in the plural, by the way, proving that there is a Trinity, okay, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It's very rare when you see, okay, Ha Elohim, whether it be vocative or whether it be, just simply the God. It's not that it's not found in the Bible. It's just not found a lot, okay, compared to when it's just anarthrous, if you will. You understand what I'm saying? So just tell the witnesses that it doesn't even say the God in Genesis 1:1. And we know God, the living God of Egypt, actually, okay, created. Is being spoken of him there. Okay, that's the God, but it doesn't even have the God there. Now, the Greek Septuagint has the God, ha theos, but in the Hebrew, there's no ha, okay, because it's ha either way, okay, in Hebrew or in Greek. In this situation, there's 24 articles in Greek, so that happens to be ha there, nominative case construction of the article, right before the nominative theos. So it doesn't even have ha Elohim in the Hebrew. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back. So the Greek word ein, and it capsulizes everything there. Before you understand, before you can listen, before we speak on the fact that Jesus is not, or Logos right here, because this is before verse 14, is not a creature. I mean, there's other aspects of his coming and stuff like that. He came into the world. Okay, that's even before verse 14. But I'm saying that before any of that happened, there was just Logos and Theos. You understand what I'm saying? And the Holy Spirit is in the background. Remember, he was there also, but he's in the background here because this primarily has to do with the Father and the Son relationship, even though they didn't have that relationship before. It was only the Logos, the Theos and Logos relationship, I call that relationship 1. Relationship 2, that's, magnified, okay, in John chapter 14, verse 28. And that's why he says, he uses, if he was speaking Greek, Son of God, our Lord. If he was speaking Greek, okay, he used the comparative degree. You have great, greater, and greatest. He used the comparative degree, okay, of adjective, okay, maison. That's in the comparative degree. You have different degrees of adjectives in Greek, okay. Oh, and so you have, the positive degree, the comparative degree, and the superlative degree. He used the comparative degree. He was comparing, himself to the Father. He said the Father is greater. Yeah, but that has to do with nature 2 or nature B. Okay, that does not have to do anything with this right here. There was no greater than anybody else here in John 1:1 and John 1:2. There's no such thing as greater. And throw in there's no such thing as greater. Okay, when they were creating things. Okay, they were better and greater than the things that they created. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as far as the relationship goes, there was no greater than anyone here. Everybody was isos or isos, equal to one another. And you see that the structure, okay, of the new city was equal. The length, the breadth, the height. And I think that's like verse 16 or 17 of Revelation chapter 21. The Greek word isos is there. Okay, telling you that these things were equal to each other, the measurements of the city. You understand what I'm saying? Now, when it talks about Christ, okay, being equal to God, it talks about there in Philippians chapter, it talks about that in Philippians chapter 2, verse 6. Isa, it means equalities, actually. He didn't hold on to the equalities, okay? But he emptied himself, okay? He emptied himself. And it looks like he emptied himself of some aspect of glory, okay? And he prays for that glory back. Didn't empty himself of the deity, but he emptied himself of glory, which he got back and will get back again when everybody confesses right in front of his feet that he is Yahweh and to the glory of God the Father. Okay, according to Philippians chapter 2, verses 10, 11, and so on. We'll get back to this. We didn't touch upon the manuscript evidence, though I will splice this together with the, the other recordings, and it could be a longer recording. And I hope that this was a benefit to you. This is Angelo Quinones giving the glory. Stay tuned for part 3. To the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Thank you.